8th running of the Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta in Georgia, and this is a 1,000-mile race, or 10 hours, whichever is completed the soonest. The second longest American Le Mans Series race of the year, and it will finish in the dark. Last year's event saw 3 of the main contenders collide as they went into turn 1, and JJ Leto and Hayanari Shimoda both had extensive damage to their cars. And the drama continued all the way through the race. But when we finally got to darkness and the finish line, it was the Audi of Frank Biela and Manuel Pirro that won, and they clinched the 2005 championship title in the process. In GT2, the fastest of the Porsche drivers was Jörg Bergmeister, taking second place, whilst the class pole was taken by Ralph Kellerner's in the Risi Competizione Ferrari F430, and he was confident that they had the speed and the right setup for the race.
Pole position is nice, but the 9-hour race, of course, is a completely different story. But what it always shows when you are good in qualifying is that you also not only have a quick car, but most of the times it also shows you have a comfortable car. That's what you need to do, you know, a quick race pace through 9 hours. It's not only that you can do one quick lap, but you need to be quick throughout the race. And I think we have a quick car in qualifying, and we have a very comfortable car that we all 3 drivers like. So I'm pretty optimistic for the race.
In GT1, the Astons were 3rd and 4th with the 009 the faster. But it was a Corvette front row with the 3 Corvette setting the pole time under the control of Johnny O'Connell, and this was his second ALMS pole here.
Good day for us. You know, I honestly think our competition, the boys at Aston, I know they have us covered, and you know, they pulled in early. Maybe they're gifting us something, so at least we have something to brag about on the weekend. But you know what, our Corvettes are doing as good as we can, you know, with the situation we're in, and so you know, always better to start at the front than the back.
After the crash at Lime Rock Park back in July, BK Motorsports returned with their rebuilt Mazda P2 car. Also joining this weekend from Europe is the Horag Lister, a Judd-powered Lola chassis, and Van der Steur Racing finally get to debut their brand new Radical SR9. Intersport had to rebuild their car after a crash on Wednesday, and John Field only got 1 fast lap in qualifying before the steering rack broke. It was still 3rd fastest, but with the drivers not getting in the compulsory night practice, they'll start from the back of the grid. At the top of the class, as expected, were the 2 Penske Porsche RS Spiders. Timo Bernhard was slightly slower than Lucas Luhr, who set a new class record with his pole-setting lap. In the P1 class, Butch Leitzinger and the 16 Dyson flat-spotted the tyres. Cars have to start the race on the tyres they qualify with, so after changing them, they go to the back of the grid also. Highcroft Racing was 6th fastest, with Chris Dyson in the 20 car 5th. Frank Biela and Emmanuel Pirro are reunited with Marco Werner this weekend and are 4th on the grid. While Zytek, their team, returned to the series, with Stefan Johansson taking 3rd place and partnered this weekend by Johnny Molan and Haruki Kawasawa. It's a front row start, but for 2nd place for the 2-man team of Alan McNish and Ronaldo Capello, who clinched the P1 championship at the last round in the diesel R10 Audi. The Creation team are here for their first race of the year, with Jamie Campbell-Walter, Harold Premat and Nick Manassian, who set the class and overall pole by 0.08 of a second from the Audi.
You know, we love qualifying. I do love qualifying, and satisfying, you know. We know we're working well on the car, and as the reward of working well on the car, we're competitive. I mean, the race is a different story, you know, but it's a good start, and it put everybody in a good mood for the race. And now we just have to finish the race with no problem, and we should be in good shape.
It looks set to be a record-breaking weekend here, spectator-wise, and the traditional grid walk prior to the start of the race is one of the busiest ever. And the delight is that you never know who you're going to bump into. Johnny Herbert used to race for the champion Audi team, and his appearance fueled rumours that he might just be returning to the series again next year.
I'm having withdrawal symptoms, so I need to, yeah, that's one reason for being here. I'm with Icelandia, who are a vodka and water company, so I'm here with them as well. But also I just want to see what drives are about. It's like anything, I want to get in something that gives me a chance and then, you know, get me all excited about driving again.
People just go crazy over this car. My first ever race here in 2001 was with the 360 Ferrari, my first race in America, and it broke down very early. And the fans were just cheering because of the car. You know, they love the car and they want to hear it, they want to see it. So it's always nice to be in that, and especially when it's as fast as this car.
Well, you know, with Aston Martin, it's not quite about just purely selling cars. It's about reinvesting in the brand, reinvesting in the sporting heritage of the brand, and taking the car to the public, you know, so that people can see our cars racing here. So it's not win on Sunday, sell on Monday, as far as Aston Martin is concerned.
It's nice to be back in racing. Of course, I'm sitting very often in the car, and it's nice to drive the R10 TDI. But to be back in racing, it's another world. So I'm very happy to be here, especially here in Atlanta. It's a nice track, it's interesting, and it's a long race. And yeah, we will do our best.
Alan McNish said at the end of the Motorsport race that he was looking forward to just enjoying the racing now that the championship was decided. But certainly the Dyson team and the Creation team have nothing to lose and will be determined that they'll take victory their own way. A long race, so to be leading at the start is not too critical, but everyone will be hoping to stay out of trouble, avoid contact and look after the cars in the early part of the race. That's the theory, but then again, with racing drivers, you just never know. The red mist always comes down in their eyes when the green flag waves. So, almost at the start of 10 hours of racing, we're heading underneath the bridge. We're coming down turn 11 into turn 12 now, where we will see the green flag, and it's displayed. Away we go. 394 laps of this circuit at Road America. The Creation car leads as they go into turn 1. Nicholas Manassian, brilliant in qualifying yesterday, and eclipsing Alan McNish in second. Stefan Johansson, good to see him back in the series, raced with the champion team, former champion with Johnny Herbert, champion driver with Johnny Herbert, and Zytek in third place, and the second of the diesel Audis with Marco Werner back in the series for this race. Good to see Marco back, and good to see the Zytek team as well, and they'll be battling hard through this weekend. Stefan Johansson doing the opening stint, a little bit of tyre smoke coming up there. That's the 20 Dyson car, the 16 car at the back of the grid, because they changed tyres. The two Penske Porsches, Lucas Law and Timo Bernhard, 5th and 6th place at the moment. Chris Dyson, the Dyson 20 car, in 7th. Duncan Dayton in the Highcroft car is 8th. Sorry, yes, he's 8th, as we see the Zytek move through to take 2nd place. And that's the view from the number 2 champion Audi with the yellow cowling on the top. The number 1 car has a red cowling cover, but the Zytek through and quickly through. There's a weight difference between the Audis and the other prototype, 65 kilos more, I think it is, for the Audis. Not happy about that either Audi. We're going to have to see how this plays out, but there is the Creation car, Creation Autosportive. It's a Judd-powered P1 car. It's a revised 675 P2 style chassis. And the Zytek, Stefan Johansson said, is probably one of the best and fastest cars that you can get your hands on, and said he wouldn't want to be driving anything else here, so have to see how that plays out during the race. But the Audi diesel R10s currently 3rd and 4th place. Such strength in strategy, reliability, and just fuel consumption, sheer pace. Brilliant drivers. You just never know how it's going to work out for them. The Penske Porsches, a bit concerned about their reliability. They've been altering and playing with the traction control this weekend, and rumours were that they turned it off to try and prolong the life of the transmission. They just want to get both cars to the finish line this weekend. They've got the championship to think about, and they're not particularly concentrating on beating the P1 cars either. They just want to get to the end. line of the American Le Mans Series at Road Atlanta, just outside Atlanta in Georgia. And this is the GT1 battle of the Petit Le Mans, the 10-hour race. Ron Fellows in the number 3 Chevrolet CompuAir Corvette C6R is leading his teammate Oliver Gavin. And then it's the 2 Aston Martins. And disappointment for the Van der Steur Racing Radical. This car making its debut this weekend is in the pits with a misfire as we look at the 62 Risi Ferrari, the 430, driven by Ralph Kelleners as a spin for Jörg Bergmeister in the 31 car. Unusual, and that is down from the S's, and we think he was touched by one of the prototype cars, and this is disaster for Jörg Bergmeister in a direct battle for the GT2 championship with Johannes van Overbeek. And here's a replay. Stefan Johansson goes through, and it's the Zytek. It's Stefan Johansson in the Zytek that touches the Peterson White Lightning car, sends him into a spin, and quite surprised about that. But now anxious times as that car comes to a standstill in the middle of the track. These faster cars are coming through. Here's a replay. We're on board. There goes the creation car, and just a tap on the front from the Zytek, and that's all that was needed to send Jörg Bergmeister spinning a couple of times, comes to rest in the middle of the track, and then has to wait to spin himself back round again. That's Olivier Beretta, teammate to Oliver Gavin in the number 4 car. And here is still in the pit lane is the 19 car Ben Devlin, this brand new car. Its debut, they've only had it weeks ago. And that's the view of the Dyson pits, looking at the progress of the 16 car of James Weaver doing the opening stint. James Weaver with his regular driving partner Butch Leitzinger this weekend, and joined by Andy Wallace, who was with them at Sebring, and a bit of work for them to do as they've been making up ground from the back of the grid up to 8th place overall now James Weaver. As we see the prototypes, the GT2s and the GT1s all mixed together, the 2 yellow Corvettes, and then the Aston Martins were on the rear of the 21 PTG BMW as the number 6 car comes through to pass him. And there's James Weaver coming up behind, and that was Stefan Sarrazin in the 009 Aston Martin. But Nick Manassian, the Frenchman, leads in the creation car from Stefan Johansson in the number 15 car. These 2 cars arriving for this and the final round of the American Le Mans Series at Laguna Seca. Creation were due to bring 2 cars. There was a rumor that they're hoping to do a full series next year, which we very much hope they will do. So we will have to wait and see whether that transpires, but we've got other new cars in the series next year, and it's looking very good indeed. 12 rounds there will be next year, as into the gravel trap at turn 10A goes Maurizio Madani in the Risi Ferrari. So not good news for that 61 car, and corner workers are there straight away, and they should be able to get that car out of the gravel trap without a safety car, but that's also a very tricky place to be in, and hopefully we won't have any problems with other cars going off, especially while there's that rather huge piece of lifting equipment. In fact, we have got a full course caution. There wasn't really much choice, I don't think, for the race director. The IMSA officials always on the ball, always very quick to react, and that car was 2nd in class in GT2, so disappointment for them. But we've got the green flag, the debris out of the way. The 61 car continues, and so do the rest of the field now. It's all jumbled up. Everybody's caught up with each other as we go up the hill, and it is quite a steep hill. It's amazing, this circuit. It really is a good, challenging track, got a bit of everything. As around they go, and we have a Corvette leading at the moment, but that will all shake things out as they start to re-establish themselves, and Alan McNish goes through to pass that Velocity yellow Corvette C6R. And it'll just take them a lap or so just to get those tyres back up to full temperature. Oh, somebody creating a lot of tyre smoke there. Get the tyres back up to temperature, get the pressures up again as well as they slow down behind the safety car. They do tend to lose a little bit of heat in the brakes and the tyres. But normal service resumed once more, and the 3 Corvettes has got an Aston Martin gaining very quickly and goes up through. No, Porsche gets through. The Zytek's there. We're on board with the Aston Martin now. Cracked lens and the in-car camera. Not too much of a problem. And that's the Dyson car through, the Highcroft car, and the 16 Dyson car. And going wide is the 007 Aston Martin. Gets back off the grass very quickly and is able to continue, but has lost ground and lost momentum on that Corvette, but a long way to go. And the Corvette boys will be pleased about that. The Aston Martin boys not quite so pleased, and we've got a bit of debris on the circuit and full course caution, and that's from the Highcroft car in an incident with the Intersport car. That's P1 class and P2 class, and John Field making his way from the back of the grid once past Duncan Dayton's car. Well, those two great friends, and Duncan Dayton used to drive a lot with the Intersport team as the Alex Job car, and I think that's Robin Liddell having to run wide. It is from second in the GT2 class. Robin Liddell, it's been announced today as well, will be running in one of the brand new Porsches next year in a two-car team, the Tuffle team. So more dramas and dramas for Porsche, because Timo Bernhard has bought the 7th place number 6 car from second in class into the pit lane. A throttle linkage problem as we go on board the number 50 Paynos. Scott Maxwell inside that car. So problems for Porsche. That's good news for Intersport. They're looking for a break this weekend. And James Weaver with a very scruffy move and slams into the side of Brian Sellers in the 22 car. Not very often you see James Weaver do things like that, but fighting for position, and wouldn't be surprised if we saw some repercussions of that. Hopefully we'll get to see a replay of what happened, but that was a strange move. And James Weaver in 3rd place. The Zytek coming up and looking for a way through. Not going to make it happen there. Alan McNish still in the yellow-topped Audi R10, the diesel car. Clinched the championship last year as into the pit lane comes James Weaver. Slows down, has to get his foot off the gas, hits the pit lane limiter, and a little way to go to their pit lane, which is about halfway down. Quite a wide pit lane here, and goes in, and this is going to be fuel and tyres. In fact, the team didn't look particularly ready for him. So obviously coming in as a result of that incident, and the team just not prepared at all, and a lot of time being lost. 3rd place overall, 3rd place in the P1 class. Here's a replay. James Weaver just behind Alan McNish. Look to the left-hand side and looking to go past Alan McNish and just clouts the side of the 22 car. And that was just unfortunate for that. And as I say, not something you expect from James Weaver or see often at all. But fired up and back out again, and a lot of time to make up, but still got a long way to go in this race. Alan McNish has Stefan Johansson behind him in the number 15. The Zytek engineer in 06S. Been a brilliant car, and is up against the German might of Audi, who've been so dominant this year. And beautiful move to go through and past him. So Stefan Johansson gets past Alan McNish. And that little car, that little red and white Zytek, just seems to have a lot more speed than the Audi does. But on the straights, the Audi, as we said, a lot heavier, and will certainly hurt them in certain places. But how it will turn out in the end might just be a different matter as they go round the 22 car. No problems there in traffic. We're on board the 21 BMW now. Bill Oberlin, who has done such a good job with this team this year, as into the pit lane comes James Weaver for a stop and a go penalty, and that is for avoidable contact with the 22 car, just as we expected. So the day not going right for him, and not going right for the 62 car. Ralph Kelleners has crashed on the main straight, just coming out of turn 12, and just seemed to get flipped by the curb, sent him spinning and into the main pit straight wall. And Ralph Kelleners out of the car and okay, but extremely disappointed, I would imagine. And Ferrari, the Risi Ferrari team, have been so strong this year, but have had so many failures resulting from crashes. And just that's brought everybody into the pit lane now while that car's recovered. Dindo Capello gets into the Audi. Stefan Johansson gets out of the Zytek, and that is Haruki Kuwasara who gets in. A last-minute addition to the pit order for the team, and into the paddock goes the number 7 car. Romain Dumas goes behind the wall, and it's a fuel leak, we're told, which is putting fuel into the driver's area, and that is very uncomfortable. Wasted no time in getting him out of that car as we get going again. So problems for both the Penske Porsches, which is great news for Intersport, who I think are going to pounce and take the lead of this race very soon. So big drama at the Petit Le Mans. It is always the byline that goes with this 10-hour race. There is always drama here. Number 1 Audi leading. Oh, the Dyson just spun away there. What a bizarre accident. Guy Smith was doing such a good job chasing down for the lead of the race and closing very quickly, and that car just went away from him. And what a bizarre thing to happen. Well, he looks to be all right. Talking to the team, no doubt, gets out okay. And a very heavily damaged car, very damaged Lola chassis, obviously full course caution. But we'll get a replay and have a look at what happened there. But the back end just seemed to just snap away from him, sent him very quickly into the wall at a very big speed, and then sent it. Here we go then. Hits the curb now, as normal, pretty much the same line as the Audi. It spins the back around and slams him into the wall, takes out one of the Mazda Hornings across the track again, and then it's the gravel that finally slows him down. But that was a big impact, and I'm sure he wouldn't have known what was happening there. Well, he's out. He seems to be all right. A little bit shocked, I would imagine, but bitter disappointment for the 20 car. And Guy Smith and Chris Dyson were going to drive the whole race on their own. And obviously, lots of cleaning up to do on that turn because there's carbon fibre everywhere. And it's going to take a while to clean that up. Porsche in pit lane, coming in for a pit stop as leader of GT2, and that is another GT car spinning for the 31 car, which is having all sorts of problems today. And puncture at the back then for 31. Here's a replay, and it looks as if the tyre just lets go. It does. Bodywork at the back, and it just delaminates. The tyre comes away. And that is brilliant driving to control that car and to stop it going off track and into the wall. Throws it into a spin, and he'll recover to the pits as we see Johnny Molan.
Liz is running a little slower times than we'd like her to run, so if we can get her to do a couple seconds quicker lap, I think they'd have a pretty hard time passing us. So if she doesn't pick it up here in a bit, then we're gonna have to put that back in and carry on.
Winfield talking about Liz Halliday, and we think she's struggling with the problems inside that car, and it's just slowing her down. Obviously, that's gifting time to the Porsches, who are trying to close up, and it's very important that Intersport hang on to that lead of the P2 class, as we see the 15 car, 4th place Nicholas Manassian, 5th place Johnny Molan. And Intersport have in fact brought Liz Halliday into the pit lane. Tyres and fuel going on that car, and John Field gets strapped inside, and he is going to set about now defending that P2 class lead. The 16 Dyson car of Andy Wallace comes to a standstill with fire on one side of the engine, and that looks to be an engine failure from the AER power plant. And what a horrible day the Dyson team are having. One car virtually destroyed, and the other car stopping at the side of the track on fire. Andy Wallace even took his seat liner out of him, but he's okay. Got off the track very quickly, but bitterly disappointed. And the Dyson team's frustrations continue and yet they were the fastest car on track at one point, and the day has come to an end for that team, who will start packing up and prepare to go home. Here's a replay then, smoke just coming from the right-hand side of the engine, and Andy Wallace knows there's a problem and gets off the track as quickly as he can. And the Aston Martin versus Corvette battle all continuing, and Johnny O'Connell comes together with the Aston Martin. Johnny not wanting to give any ground. Darren Turner moves up a place then, sharing the car with Thomas Enger this year, and Thomas Enger is the only one of the Aston Martin drivers that can win the GT1 championship this year.
I don't know, the last 10-15 laps, suddenly my neck just went. I mean, my right glute, or whatever they call it, is cramping up, but to be fair, Stefan had that as well. It's to do with not being able to have the lap belt as tight as I would like, to try and accommodate for all three drivers. But in terms of my neck, 10-12 laps from the end, it was just floating around on jelly, and that was making driving very, very difficult for me, because through 12 and through 1 I couldn't see the apex, because when I turned in, my head would just float right back. So I was struggling a wee bit with that. I think I'm going to actually tighten the tethers on my hands a little bit and see if I can help it with that. But other than that, I was really pleased to sort of... I don't think I got overtaken by anyone except Alan coming out of the pits. Just as he came out of the pits, I arrived and he did me down the inside into 3. Otherwise, I don't think I got overtaken, so I'm quite pleased about that, actually. So it's nice.
Johnny Molan from the 15 car in the pit lane, as you heard, has had a bit of a rough time, and this is a great little battle. A few laps separate these cars, but John Field in the Intersport car does not want to give the Penske Porsche a lap back as the Porsche goes on the inside, and John Field shuts the door very firmly. John Field is giving it everything. The Porsche is the faster of the car. It handles better. The Intersport team have a fraction of the money that Penske Porsche have to run their 2 cars. And John Field is driving the wheels off that Intersport Lola, the BO540 with the AER power plant that they had last year as a new car, and really have done so well with it. And this year have had such an uphill challenge. It was only a meeting or so ago, a race or so back, that they lost the championship points lead between Liz and Clint Field. And John Field is really putting up a challenge to Timo Bernhard, who is 3 laps behind the 37 car. And the Highcroft car of Duncan Dayton is behind these and watching what's going on. And we're on board with Alan McNish, who is back up to the race league now in the Audi Sport North America R10 car. And in the pit lane, problems continuing this time for the Alex Joe Porsche team. A broken front lower control arm caused after running wide at turn 10. And Marcel Thiemann into the pit lane with that car, which is being worked on. Jörg Bergmeister is now back up to the lead of the GT2 car class, as into the pit lane comes Stefan Johansson. This is because of a puncture, and tyres causing problems here this weekend. So the Zytek team losing ground, bit of damage to the bodywork, and that tyre comes off, that Michelin comes off and gets covered up straight away by one of the Michelin technicians, and that will go out of the reach of eyes and hands. And into the pit lane, Johnny O'Connell comes in, hands over to his longtime partner Ron Fellows, the number 3 CompuWare Corvettes. And in the pit lane, Clint Field is taking over from his dad, who did get passed at the end by the Porsche. And there's a problem with the steering rack. Drama for the Intersport team and a steering problem. What disappointment for them, and all the time that they are stuck in the pit lane here is time that the Porsches are gaining back up, and they need to get that car back out on the track soon. Otherwise, they are going to lose the lead of the P1 class. And Timo Bernhard, currently 2nd in that class, is on course to take back the lead of this race again. But Intersport, just after it was going well, it's all changed in the wrong way. big news at the American Le Mans Series, Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta, because the 37 car goes behind the wall. It was leading the P2 class. Problems with the steering means it had to go behind the wall, and it means that the Penske team have gone back to leading the P2 class. Lucas Law in second place. The number 6 car is now the class leader, and Corvette have pitted and are changing the brake pads, discs and calipers, as well as fuel and tyres. And Oliver Gavin gets in that car, and that is Lucas Law changing over to the P2 class. So, well, that's confusion with the Corvettes. They obviously have a brake problem, and Jan Magnussen was in that car. And the team say the sensors are showing that the brakes are worn out, and saying because it's the extra weight, as the number 6 car gets a turnaround, and Timo Bernhard hands over to Emmanuel Collard, third driver for them for this race, as he was at Sebring. And there is Roger Penske, the captain, keeping a watchful eye, brilliant on his strategy, has done great things with this team this year, and we expect to see them back next year. They've just unveiled their 2007 car at the Paris Motor Show this weekend as well, as the 6 car now gets up to speed, and Nicolas Minassian is handing over to Harold Prima, and he will be out very shortly in that car. Fuel going on, and there's been quite a difference between the Zytek and the Creation teams' pit times as against some of the other existing teams here who are just so much quicker. And the Zytek and the Creation have lost quite a bit of time in the pit lane, but things have continued to go well for them otherwise. And that's from 3rd place then. Rika Kawasara, and the Zytek is currently 4th in class. And the 2 Audis currently leading. So waiting to fire that car up, and it gets going now, and out he goes onto the pit lane, and that is Nicolas Minassian out of that car. What a great drive he's been putting in this weekend. And there is Mimo Gidley in the Highcroft Lola, the EX257, a car that is 5 or I can't remember, 6 years old now. And Duncan Dayton came back to the series this year with the Highcroft team, and has done a brilliant job with what was last year's number 16 car. And partway through the season, we found out that Highcroft will be running one of the new Acura cars next year, and just waiting desperately to get their hands on the car and start testing it, but have great hopes for next year, and they will be running one of 3 Acura-powered P2 cars, and there's going to be a whole host of competition in that class next year. And in the pit lane, the number 3 Corvette is also having a complete brake change. So we've never seen this happen before. So Corvette having all sorts of problems, and this is just gifting the race to the Aston Martins. The time this is taking is just gifting it to them. But meanwhile, Alan McNish continues on in the number 2 Audi Sport North America Diesel R10 TDI. It's getting dark now. The lights are really becoming effective. It's a danger time as the drivers continue around. Difficult to see their braking points. Difficult also for the other cars to see you. And the cars behind you dazzle you in the rear view mirrors. Harder for the GT style cars than it is the prototypes, I'm told. But as he comes down the hill, this is the number 88 car being followed by the 6 car. There's a few laps between them, but Nicolas Minassian and Emmanuel Collard are 3rd place for Nicolas Minassian, and it's 6th overall, I think it is, for Emmanuel Collard. Harry Kurosawa in 5th place, so the Zytek team slipped down the order at the moment. And Johannes van Overbeek is handing over to Wolf Hensler from 6th in the GT2 class. Disappointing run for them this weekend. And if the 31 car stays ahead of them, as it is currently, then that's going to hand more points to Jörg Bergmeister. As we see little conversations going on in the Reynolds pits, and Pat Long in the 31 car is handing over to Jörg Bergmeister, and leader, despite earlier problems in the GT2 class, holds on to P1. Fuel going in. Fuel in this car and all the other Porsches is from the front. Nobody from the team can touch the car apart from an assistant for the driver until the fuel has gone in, and now they set to work putting brand new Michelin tyres on that car, and this should be, I would imagine, the last stop for this car now. It should run with Jörg Bergmeister all the way to the end of the race, and you can see that Knight is well and truly with us now as Alan McNish leads by 1 lap from teammate Marco Werner in the #1 Audi, so a whole lap in hand, which is good news for the Audi team. And Alan McNish looks like he's on his way to another win, and Jamie Campbell-Walter has stopped at the side of the track. That is by turn 5. What caused that, we're not sure, and in come the Corvettes once again. Max Papis hands the 3 car to Johnny O'Connell, and there's problems for Audi. Audi have got a problem with the front left-hand side of the #1 car. Marco Werner has a broken front left tie rod, and that is going to take some time to repair, and Bill Auberlen has stopped at turn 10. He's come to a standstill, was 3rd in GT2, and Bill Auberlen has spun. There's the Penals that was in 4th place, I think, with Sebastian Bourdais. So was that contact? Not quite sure what happened there. Here's a replay, just spins it round, and I think he actually lost it. I think Sebastian Bourdais didn't actually make contact with him. So disappointment for the BMW team. Flashes going off everywhere as people try and get a nighttime photo of their racing heroes. And the Audi is proving to be so strong. Well, there's only 2 races this year that they didn't win. They didn't win at Road America. They didn't win at Salt Lake City. But opening victory at Sebring, then it was Houston with the Audi R8s, and the R8s won again at Mid-Ohio and Lime Rock, as we see Marco Werner just sitting and waiting to see if he can get back out again. Then the R10 arrived at Salt Lake City. They didn't make it there, but they made it at Portland. They made it at Mosport, and now they're going to make it at Road Atlanta, because the white flag indicates they're on the last lap. The #1 Audi, I think, is going to finish in the pit lane. It doesn't look as if it's going to turn a wheel, but they still need to continue repairing that car anyway. So disappointment for Audi, and yet supreme delight because they are going to win again at Road Atlanta. And disappointment for Marco Werner, only his 3rd race this year, and doesn't get to finish it under power. But very soon we will see the fireworks as the checkered flag waves home the #2 Audi, new champions for this year, as we go underneath the bridge. Alan McNish, what a great year he's had on his return to the American Le Mans Series, just taking it very easily now, and starts to wind his way down to the start and finish straight. And here he comes down the hill. 1 more turn left, and Alan McNish will see the checkered flag underneath the bridge. There it is now. The fireworks go off in the sky. Dindo Capello and the rest of the Audi team are celebrating and can relax after 10 hours, just less than 10 hours of racing, 394 laps. 9 hours and 16 minutes. Alan McNish and Dindo Capello take Audi's 8th straight Petit Le Mans win. And the #6 Penske Porsche took the P2 class win. Aston Martin get a 1-2 finish in GT1 with a 007 car the victor. And in GT2, Peterson White Lightning survive an intense battle to win. The diesel R10 adds the Petit Le Mans win to the 12 hours of Sebring and the 24-hour Le Mans, the major races of the year.
Can you do the interview from up here? There's a lot of pressure from the sister car and also from the Zytek and the creation. But I think from the point of view of us driving without the pressure of a championship, that was certainly clear. We could put it onto the limit, we could run as hard as we needed to, and thankfully it was just enough at the end.
It's a major, major achievement. 10 hours, you know, you did Sebring as well, but 10 hours, it's incredible.
Well, this is the longest race that we've personally done without a problem, so I think everybody at Audi should be very proud of the development of the diesel. The R10 TDI came in this year for the first time, and it was a major, major programme. But I think we've proved again today that it can stand the test.
The P1 Championship was settled at Mosport, but P2 still wages on between the Penske drivers and the Intersport team, who need a whole lot of luck at the last round. The 4 Corvettes still lead GT1 by 11 points from Thomas Enger, whilst there are just 4 points in GT2 between Johannes van Overbeek and Jorg Bergmeister. The celebrations begin at Road Atlanta. The last round is a 4-hour race at the Laguna Seca circuit in Monterey, California, where the remaining 3 championship titles will be decided, and the wildcard entries will be out to steal the thunder of the regular teams. It's going to be a dynamite finish to the season.